Do you hear it? The echoes of the past, the whispers of forgotten truths, fragments of memories lost in the shadows. Welcome to Brainrot, Echoes, where we bring you stories long buried, unravel mysteries cloaked by time, and guide you through the darkest corners of the mind and the universe. Each video is more than just content. It's an echo resonating deep within, urging you to question, to wonder, to explore. Backend index pointing right, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us in listening to the echoes the world tried to silence. We thought they were primitive. The Confession of Val Norak, Devorian Veteran. Part 1. The Coming of the Dark Ship. I am Val Norak, once a warrior of Devorian's 3rd Corps, Vrexo's Assault Division. Now, a lone remnant, adrift beyond our borders, a broken soul whispering into the void. And I must tell you, we thought they were primitive. The Vrexos was the pride of our kind. 20 miles of armored steel, sheathed in magnetic plating, armed with weapons that could crack the crust of a world. A city of death drifting through the stars. 3,000 battle-hardened soldiers rode her hull, veterans of 37 campaigns, reapers of fragile civilizations. Fear was not a thing we felt anymore. Victory was a song we expected to hear. When the Vrexos broke from the orbit of Zendar and turned toward Sol, no one doubted the outcome. On our monitors, Sol's 3rd planet appeared, a blue gem swaddled in white clouds, smothered in ocean and forest. The scout ships returned their reports. No spacefaring technology detected. Primitive life. No alliances. Suitable for immediate conquest. I stood beside Commander Shan as he watched the images from the recon crafts. Fires flickering beneath crude shelters. Thin bodies huddled near their warmth. Homes of leaves and wood. He sneered. Pitiful, he said. This will be easy, Val. I did not answer. There was something in the eyes of those we labeled primitive, an unsettling stillness. A gaze unclouded by terror. A gaze that watched, knowing, waiting. When the Vrexos entered Earth's orbit, I looked down at that living world. Oceans silvered beneath the moonlight, storms twisted like wild beasts across its surface, and in the darkness of its forests, faint fires flickered, the campfires of humanity. The orders rang out, deploy landing teams. Secure the southern plains. Take the water sources. Subdue the settlements. 90 landing ships tore the sky, blazing trails of red across the heavens. Inside the cold steel of the assault craft, young warriors laughed, boastful and certain. One clapped my shoulder. Norak, what troubles you? We destroyed the KRYL battalions with plasma fire. These savages have no armor, no guns. I said nothing. There was only a weight in my chest, a heaviness I could not name. The clouds broke as we fell through the atmosphere. Wind screamed against our hulls. Below lay the wide plains, forests like clawed hands, a great river shining like a silver serpent. We landed. The dust rose. The machines deployed. The turrets unfolded. The walkers stomped into position. Our lines were perfect. We were ready for swift conquest. But then they came. Part 2. The full invasion. From the shadow of the trees, they emerged. Silent. Weaponless. Unafraid. Men, women, children lined along the forest's edge. Their eyes gleamed with something I could not name. Not hatred. Not fear. As if they had known we would come. Commander Rashan growled into his calm. Fire warning shots. Drive them off. Plasma cannons spat fire at the earth before them. The ground erupted, but they did not run. They melted back into the trees like mist under the sun. Night fell. The Vrexos hung above us, black against the stars. We set our defenses. Towers swept the forest with scanners. We felt safe. We were fools. The wind brought strange sounds. Whistling, tapping, howls like wolves. Sensors glitched, alarms blared. Then a small explosion, someone shouted. We ran to find a plasma turret disabled, strange marks carved into its shell. One soldier vanished, leaving only a bloodstain in the dirt. Rashan tightened our formations. But hour by hour, another vanished. A machine was crushed by a fallen tree. A walker drowned in river mud. A guard post swallowed by sandstorm. Simple things. Impossible things. We feared, and at dawn, we found a lieutenant's body nailed to a tree, eyes open, forehead carved with a blood-red mark, a circle crossed with an X. Roshan raged. Full assault. Burn the forests. Flush them out. Engines roared. Machines tore the grasslands. Troops formed search grids, sensors swept. But the forest was a mouth swallowing us whole. Traps claimed our men. Falling logs, hidden pits, deadfalls no technology could predict. A walker toppled into a sinkhole. A squad crushed beneath rolling stones. The drones scanned the canopy. No enemy. But every night, more men lost. The planet itself seemed to rise against us. Storms buried our outposts. Rivers shifted, stealing our supplies. The Vrexos sent scrambled signals. Magnetic disturbances, satellites offline, targets unclear. Roshan ordered the fires. The forest burned, but the wind turned. The blaze circled back, consumed our own lines. And then, from the north, a light rose. Not plasma, not fusion, something older, rougher, stronger. It tore through the Vrexos, and the sky erupted in flame. Our great ship died, a falling star swallowed by the sea. We were left alone, abandoned, defeated. Part 3. The First Night of Terror. I do not remember exactly when that night began. Time fractured, melting in my mind like alloy under plasma heat. All I recall is this. That night, the Earth revealed itself, not as a primitive world, but as a trap, a living beast, a sentient fury. We had gathered in a low hollow near the edge of a forest burned by our own hand. Our numbers had shrunk to just over 200. Once proud warriors of the Devorian Empire, now ragged, starving, sleepless, hollow-eyed. Even the youngest among us no longer spoke of glory. Even Roshan had stopped shouting orders no one obeyed. We built barricades of shattered machinery, planted plasma turrets like totems against the dark, dug trenches as if the soil would shield us. The night fell swift and cold, a black shroud that smothered the last warmth from our bones. The wind howled through the skeletons of charred trees like the wailing of the dead. And then it began. The drums, faint at first, like the echo of a heartbeat deep beneath the ground. Slow, heavy. I felt it in my ribs. I felt it in my skull. Each beat a hammer on my soul. The soldiers stirred. One of the younger ones whispered, "War drums. They're calling their warriors." No one mocked him. We all knew. This was no show of courage. No challenge to duel. This was the sound of the hunt. The sound of death coming. The whistling came next. Thin, shrill, slicing through the night air, sharp as the edge of a blade. It pierced our ears, our minds. I saw men clutch their heads, cursing, sobbing. Our sensors went mad. Screens flooded red. Systems overloaded, the machines as blind as we were. Plasma turrets fired wildly into the dark. Blades of light tore the trees, the rocks, the ground. But the night swallowed all. The drums did not falter. The whistling did not cease. Then came the first arrow. A flame tip, arcing from the dark, striking the eastern turret. Fire spread along the fuel conduit. An explosion split the night. Men screamed, scattered. A second arrow. A third. The night rained fire upon us. Voices cried out in panic. They're flanking us. No, they're behind. But there were no shapes. Only shadows. Only the darkness itself moving against us. And then the horns. A low, monstrous sound, as if the earth itself roared. The ground trembled beneath us. Stones tumbled. Branches snapped. It was not just men that advanced. It was the planet itself. Boulders rolled down from the slopes. Sandstorms rose from nowhere, choking, blinding, swallowing trenches and tents alike. Trees fell as if felled by the fist of a god. I saw men snatched into the night. A cry, and then nothing. Blood stained the dirt. A soldier fell to his knees, arms outstretched to the black sky, sobbing, "Mercy! I beg you mercy!" But no voice answered but the drums and the wind. Varnak, who led what was left of the command, screamed, "Fall back! To the river! Abandon the camp!" But his words were ash on the storm. The lines broke. Warriors fled in all directions, no longer soldiers, just prey. I ran. The drums pounded behind me, each beat a lash upon my back. The whistling tore at my ears, the horns shattered my thoughts. Fire licked at the edges of my sight. Around me the world burned, and I ran. The night stretched endless, as if dawn had forgotten us. When at last the blackness lightened, I lay gasping in the mud beside a trickle of water that had once been a river. Around me the bodies of Devorians littered the ground, some charred, some torn, some simply staring wide-eyed at the heavens they would never see again. The blood-red mark, the circle with the cross, was carved on many a brow. The first night of terror had passed, but I knew we had only begun to die. Part 4. The World of the Hunt. The night of terror shattered us. By dawn, we were no longer an army. We were fragments, shattered metal and broken wool scattered across a planet that no longer tolerated our presence. I wandered. I had no orders, no comrades, only the sound of my boots on the ash-strewn ground and the pounding of my heart that still echoed the rhythm of those cursed drums. The scattering. I stumbled upon survivors in ones and twos, faces pale beneath their helms, eyes wide with sleepless horror. We had no leader, no purpose, only the same instinct, the same terror. Run. Hide. Survive. Dalrek was among them. A captain once, now just a gaunt, shivering shadow of a man. His armor was scorched, his rifle clutched tight in trembling hands. His voice cracked as he spoke. We need to regroup. We need to call the fleet. They must come for us. I looked to the sky that once bore the proud Vrexos, now empty but for drifting ash. There is no fleet, I said. There will be no rescue. Dalrek's eyes burned with madness. No. We will fight. We will win. We are Devorian. But his words fell dead upon the wind. The earth heard him, and the earth answered. The forest's wrath. That night, the forest came alive. We had thought we could rest on a ridge of stone above the treetops. But as darkness fell, the winds rose, a keening gale that carried the whisper of voices. Not human voices. Not quite. The cries of beasts, or the land itself. Shadows flitted at the edge of vision, shapes that could have been men, or spirits, or the forest's own rage. We fired upon them. Plasma bolts lit the night. The trees burned, but the darkness remained. Traps lay hidden beneath our feet, pits lined with sharpened stakes, snares of vine and bone that dragged soldiers screaming into the black. Boulders rolled from heights above, crushing the unwary. Dalrek's squad fell apart in minutes. His men fled in all directions. The last I saw of Dalrek, he was firing into the night, screaming defiance. The forest swallowed him whole. I ran. Again. The hunt. Days blurred into nights. Time lost meaning. I became a creature of the wilderness, sleeping where I fell, eating what scraps I could find. And always, the hunt pursued me. I saw them. The hunters. The so-called primitives. They did not chase like beasts. They moved with purpose, with cunning. They used the land as their weapon. The rivers rose at their command, drowning our camps. The wind shifted at their call, spreading flame through the grasslands where we hid. The beasts of the forest, wolves, bears, creatures I could not name, moved at their side, silent, watching, waiting for their signal. And when they came, when they struck, it was without mercy, without pause. They needed no guns, no jeeps, no technology. They had the world itself, and the world was enough. The ruin of the mighty. I found another group on the 7th day, or perhaps it was the 10th. Time no longer mattered. 7 of them, Devorian soldiers once as proud as I, now little more than ghosts. Their faces hollow, their weapons rusted by the endless rain, their armor cracked and stained with mud and blood. They spoke little. What was there to say? We were all prey. That night, we tried to light a fire. The wood was wet, the air thick with mist. We huddled together, shivering beneath the gaze of unseen watchers. We heard them, the soft footfalls of the hunters, the whisper of their breath in the dark. A stone fell from the cliff above. A warning, or a mockery. One of the soldiers broke. He ran into the night, screaming for the stars to save him. An arrow answered, then silence. The mountain pass. Desperation drove us upward, into the jagged teeth of the mountains, where no man or beast could follow. Or so we thought. The wind howled through the peaks, carrying with it the scent of smoke and blood. We saw the hunters upon the ridges, dark shapes against the moon, faces masked in bone, bodies cloaked in skin and shadow. They did not speak. They did not gesture, but they drove us on, upward, into the storm. Rocks fell upon us. Ice sheared from the cliffs. The mountain itself became their weapon. The last stand of Dowrek. We tried to hold, tried to form a line upon a narrow ledge. Dowrek, somehow alive, somehow with us, raised his rifle one last time. His voice, raw and ragged, echoed against the stone. We came in peace. We came to bring civilization. The knight laughed in answer. A single arrow struck him down, piercing his heart through the gap in his armor. His eyes widened, staring at the stars as if they had betrayed him. He fell without a sound. The fall. After that, we were no longer soldiers. The earth claimed us one by one. The rivers swept us away. The storms buried us in ice and stone. The hunters watched, silent, patient, until only I remained. And I understood at last. This was not a war. This was a purge. We had come to conquer. The earth had risen to cleanse itself of us. The forgotten. We no longer moved as a unit. We were scattered across a world that wanted us gone, fragmented not by the weapons of the so-called primitives, but by the land itself, by its storms, its beasts, its silence. I remember one night when I stumbled upon a ravine filled with mist. I heard voices there, Devorian voices. I thought I had found allies. I called out, but what answered was not my kind. Shadows rose from the fog, figures cloaked in skins, faces hidden behind the snarling visages of wolves and bears. They carried no rifles, no plasma cannons, only spears, bows, stone knives honed sharper than any blade of ours. They did not charge. They did not attack. They waited, watched, and I knew we were not the hunters here. We were the game, the signs. Everywhere I went, I found the signs, the blood mark, the circle and the cross, painted on stones, carved into trees, traced in ash upon the ground. A warning, or a promise. I found the remains of our technology wrecked and abandoned. A scout vehicle, its chassis torn open by stone and fire. A turret, melted down to slag. A comms array, shattered beneath a fallen tree. And always, near these ruins, I saw the watchers, silent shapes in the distance, their weapons at their sides, as still as the mountains. They had no need to fight us. We were killing ourselves. The dead. I passed the remains of my comrades, left as warnings to the rest of us who still clung to the illusion of survival. A soldier impaled upon a sharpened tree trunk, his body limp in the wind. Another strung between two boulders, his face frozen in terror. A third buried in earth up to his chest, eyes open to the sky, mouth filled with dirt. Not one of them bore wounds of plasma or gunfire. They had died by earth and stone and hand-carved blade. The so-called primitives had defeated warriors who had raised worlds. I thought of Rashan, of Dowrek, of all our commanders, dead or vanished, reduced to nothing more than nameless corpses scattered across a world that rejected us. I thought of myself. What was I now but a dead man walking? The earth strikes. I tried to move west, toward what our maps once called a valley of safety, a region our scanners had marked as rich in water, fertile ground. But the maps were lies now. The land had shifted beneath our feet. Rivers had changed their course. Forests had grown where there had been plains. The earth itself conspired to mislead us. The valley was a trap. As I entered its mouth, the ground gave way beneath me. I fell, tumbled down a slope of loose stone, came to rest in a mire of mud and bone. All around me, the remains of those who had come before, Devorian, beast, and hunter alike, mixed in the black soil. Above, I saw them, dozens, maybe hundreds, lining the ridge, watching me. The hunters, the earth's children. They did not move. They did not need to. A storm rose behind them, black clouds rolling down the valley, winds tearing at the trees. Thunder cracked. Rain fell in torrents. I clawed at the mud, trying to escape the trap that the world had made for me. The earth had become their weapon, and it would finish what they had begun. The long flight. I don't know how I survived that night. Perhaps the earth had toyed with me, allowing me to crawl free so that I might carry my terror further. Perhaps the hunters had spared me deliberately. I no longer knew. I no longer cared. I fled across burned plains, through forests where no birds sang, along rivers that ran red with the blood of the fallen. The night was filled with drums and the shriek of horns, the voices of beasts and the roar of the storm. I became like the animals I had mocked, a creature of fear, hiding by day, running by night, drinking rain from leaves, eating roots and scraps. And always I felt them near. I saw their shadows on the hills. I heard their calls upon the wind. They did not need to strike. They knew I would die soon enough. The mountain's judgment. In the end, I climbed into the high places, into the cold where no trees grew and the air was thin. I thought to escape them there, to find some high refuge beyond the reach of their hunt. But even the mountains served them. The wind howled like a living thing, tearing at my flesh. The snow blinded me, numbed my hands, froze my breath. I slipped on the ice, fell upon jagged stone, bled into the white. And through the storm, I saw them, just outlines in the dark, standing upon the peaks, unmoving, eternal. The earth was theirs. The sky was theirs. The storm was theirs. And I was nothing, the world of the hunt. In those final days, I ceased to hope. I ceased to think. I was only motion, only hunger, only terror. The earth hunted us. The earth devoured us. And in the end, I understood. We had not invaded a primitive world. We had entered the dominion of gods. The survivor. I no longer know how many days have passed. Time has lost its meaning. There is only the endless alternation of dark and light, of hunger and thirst, of fear and flight. My skin is torn and burned. My armor hangs in rags. The flesh beneath festers. I stink of sweat, of blood, of the mud of this cursed world. But I live. Why? Why have they let me live? Perhaps because death would be too merciful. The land that hunts. Everywhere I go, the land itself seems to rise against me. Once I stumbled upon a thicket of thorns so dense and sharp it tore my face, my arms, my legs. I tried to force my way through, only to find myself ensnared, bleeding, gasping as the thorns closed around me like the jaws of some great beast. It was not the hunters who freed me. It was the storm. A sudden wind tore through the thicket, ripping it apart, hurling me out onto the stones beyond. Another time, I came to a river. Its waters ran fast and cold. I thought to cross, but as I stepped in, the current seized me like a living thing, pulling me under, dashing me against hidden rocks. I fought, clawing for air, for light. And when at last I broke free, I lay on the bank, coughing blood, my body bruised and broken. Above me, on the far shore, they watched, silent. Still, they did not need to kill me. The earth would do it for them. The last faces. I am alone now, but sometimes in the mist I see faces. Faces of those I once called comrades, pale, hollow-eyed, accusing. I see Urshan, his mouth twisted in a silent scream. I see Dowrak, his chest pierced, his hands clutching at the arrow he could not pull free. I see the young soldiers who once laughed, who once believed in the strength of our weapons and our pride. And beyond them, I see the hunters. They are no longer men and women to me. They are spirits, shadows of the earth itself. Their faces are hidden behind masks of wood and bone. Their eyes burn like embers in the dark. Their weapons are simple, stone and wood, sinew and bone. But they are more deadly than any plasma or steel. They are everywhere. They are nowhere. The ruined machine. I came at last to a clearing where the wreck of a scout ship lay, half buried in the mud, its hull blackened by fire. I crawled to it, hands shaking, heart pounding. Hope surged within me for the first time in what felt like years. The ship was dead. The systems offline, the controls fused and melted. But the escape pod, by some miracle, remained intact. I worked for hours prying it open, rewiring what I could, using tools fashioned from the wreckage, my own blood smearing the panels. I heard the drums as I worked, the endless, beating drums that haunted my nights. I heard the horns, the howls of the beasts, the whisper of the wind in the trees. They let me work. They watched. And when I was done, when the pod sputtered to life, I knew they could have stopped me at any moment. But they did not, because they wanted me to carry this terror back with me. The final glance. As the pod lifted, as it rose through the smoke and the mist, I looked down one last time at the world that had destroyed us. On the ridge they stood, hundreds of them, thousands, silent, unmoving, watching. The flames of the burning forest flickered behind them, casting their shadows long across the land. The earth itself seemed to glow with their power, the power of those who needed no ships, no guns, no machines. They had beaten us not with strength of arms, but with the strength of the land, of the storm, of the night itself. The message. Now I drift in the void, aboard a derelict lifeboat patched together with scrap and prayer. My food is gone, my water nearly spent. My body is broken, my soul is shattered. But I must speak, I must warn. I send this message across the stars, on every frequency, every channel, to friend and foe alike. I do not ask for rescue. I do not ask for vengeance. I only speak the truth. We thought they were primitives. We were wrong. They are the children of their world. They do not need spaceships, for their planet is their vessel. They do not need technology, for nature itself is their weapon. They do not need gods, for they are the gods of their earth. We, with our plasma cannons and starships and arrogance, we are the savages. We are the invaders, and the earth has spat us out. A final prayer. If you hear this, if you value your life, your soul, your world, stay away. Leave that blue planet to its children. Let no army, no fleet, no empire ever again think to conquer it. For it will not be conquered. It will conquer you. This is Val Norak, a broken soldier, the last witness to the greatest defeat in the history of Devorian. Remember us and do not follow.